clear, sunny day with the sun shining and the birds singing. An ordinary guy picking out chips at the shop heard the breaking news of a sudden earthquake on the outskirts of Seoul. According to the Geological Agency, the magnitude of the earthquake was slowly increasing and the death toll would also increase. Suddenly, all the customers in the supermarket felt the earthquake. Everything around them began to collapse and the air was filled with filthy dust. Right before their eyes, a very tall tower appeared out of the ground. In other cities around the world, it was the same scenario. After a devastating earthquake, towers appeared everywhere. People did not understand what was happening and called it the Tower of Nightmares. Suddenly, an interface appeared in front of a guy saying that he had been chosen to wander the tower to save the world. He accepted the challenge, along with other people who jumped to the front of the tower. They also accepted the call. They'd all received a blessing from the interface system, so they could gain items and skills, just like in a video game. But they soon find out that it wasn't a game. They found themselves in a tower. At this time, people outside saw monsters pouring down from the tower. They were horrible, and there were a lot of them. People used all their modern weapons, but the monsters that came out of the tower killed a third of humanity. The people inside the tower had no choice but to watch it all happen. They decided to climb the tower and save the world. If they cleared this tower, this nightmare would end. They were sure of it. Men who were qualified and given special powers, humanity's last hope. They set about destroying the monsters, moving higher and higher, until a blockage formed in their path. As they sorted them out, the wanderers discovered a shining stone. An interactive clue indicated that it was a regression stone. That stone turns back time, sends the user back to the past, when I first summoned him to the tower. The user's memory remains completely intact. The stone can be split into pieces and used. The warriors couldn't believe it. The wanderer boss immediately decided to use the stone to go back in time to warn mankind. He took a piece of the stone, and immediately everyone was blinded by a bright flash. When it disappeared, boss also disappeared, leaving everyone in confusion. They didn't understand where he'd gone. Was he really in the past? And shouldn't he appear in the present? Even if he went back in the past, why hasn't anything changed? Sakamoto, a former science teacher, assumed that boss had gone to the past of this world. However, the timeline has splits, though he can't meet them again. The use of the stone was a splitting of the timeline of the universe. Sakamoto tried to explain the current situation using various scientific theories, such as the multiverse theory and the parallel universe theory. In other words, the moment the boss disappeared in the past, our world and the boss's world diverged. It became clear that even if he did go back in time, our present world would not change. This stone can bring each of them back to a unique timeline. It is also possible that all people using this stone will be sent to the same timeline. The objects in this tower possess abilities that far surpass human knowledge. Meanwhile, in the world beyond the first tower, a second tower appeared, from which a new wave of monsters set out to destroy humanity. Before every human being on Earth died, the wanderers had to make a decision, either to return to the past with the regression stone or to stay here and die. Wave after wave of monsters only got bigger. The wanderers fought bravely, but there came a moment when some gave up and began to doubt. It was over, no more hope, that life was over anyway. And they used the stone. But not everyone escaped. There were people who were not shaken by the hope called the Stone of Regression. There remained people who wanted to protect not the past, but the present. The last suicide squad of mankind. They continued to fight one by one through the floors of the tower. Having defeated the master of the 85th floor, the whole group was in one piece. Only the wounded needed to rest. They were already dreaming that at this rate, they could make it all the way to the top floor. For slaying the master of this floor, Jawan did not receive the sword of the suppressing dragon. The tiger ghost forged this sword for 1,000 days and 1,000 nights to slay the dragon. It has the energy of the sun and the moon in it. The hero thought things were going smoothly. But then they got to the 98th floor, and they had to fight the master of the floor, the monster of the Hellfire Room. One by one the heroes died in the battle. Jawan became numb. Had they come this hard way to die here? He was brought to his senses only by the cry and help of his last undead comrade Jungwon. He continued to fight the monster with the last of his strength. Jungwon saw how the monster is trying to defeat his friend and severely wounded him. Gathering all his strength and will, the hero rushes to the rescue. I myself do not understand how to discover my new ability. Studlavoy lasso energy restrains, and then with a sword destroys the monster of infernal flame. When the dust of battle settled, the heroes saw his wounded friend. He held the extinguished stone of regression in his hand, and said that he was not so strong and could not continue their mission. He jumped out the tower window, unable to continue. Now Jaemin was left alone. He had no doubts. He walked on. He was hurt, but he didn't even think of stopping. Behind the next door, he found the snowfield. On the 99th floor, Jaewon is confronted by the ice dragon Welchesses. It has been 10 years since he arrived on the 99th floor. The hero has faced countless hardships on his way to the 98th floor, but the level of the 99th floor is incomparable to any other floor. The icy breath of this dragon from the Forgotten Lands is impossible to withstand, even with the maximum resistance to cold. Had it not been for the equipment left behind by the other wanderers, he would have perished long ago. On the 85th floor, the hero gained the sword of the overpowering dragon. A friend gave him the ice demon armor and the bracelet of the Fire King. So reflected the Jaewon in his moments of rest between fights with the ice dragon. He remembered how he used to rest between battles in the tower and prepare for new battles in the Atopos village. It was created after defeating the boss of the 50th floor dragon Harbinger Atopos. Here every day the wounded and dead, but people did not lose hope. The priests assembled a rescue squad to save the raiding parties who could not continue the fight in the towers, and the blacksmiths shopped for free repair of equipment for the wandering with fighting for humanity. A conversation with the blacksmith Dai came to mind. Who was the last blacksmith in the village? Our hero was his last customer. Even then, there weren't many people left in the tower. The tower has been affected more than 10 times and people no longer appear in the summoning arena on the first floor. The blacksmith often wondered what the hero noticed in the tower as he walked up and down. Was there anything that he remembered? The hero scrolled through his memories 1,000 times. The tower was the same as it had always been, except that where the stone of regression had been discovered, there were strange symbols on the wall. A tower within a tower, a nightmare within a nightmare. It was nothing special. Jaewon didn't pay much attention to it. People don't age in the tower. If someone disappears, it can mean one of two things. Either they've gone back in time, or they've jumped off the tower. These reflections were interrupted by the ice dragon monster. He found the place where the hero was resting. Since the tower's creation, no human had ever managed to defy the 99th floor alone. The monster wanted to finish off the upstart man as quickly as possible, even though he acknowledged that our hero was an incredible man. Another battle began. The monster had no doubt of his victory, and the hero, in his opinion, had only one fate: horrible loneliness and a sense of helplessness. Dragon laughed with the piercing combat technique and did not admit that only that can beat him. Jaewon began clearing the tower later than the other wanderers. Because of this, whether it was hidden skills or hidden classes, he constantly missed opportunities to gain them. Because of this, the hero even gave up other skills. He even gave up other skills and devoted himself to only one skill: piercing. Ion pierced and pierced his enemies 50 million times. As time passed, he began to notice a change in his strokes. They were becoming more powerful, more precise, faster. As a result, these blows were no longer simple movements. They had attack power at the same level as the hidden skill. And because it is not a skill, it does not require spiritual power, so there is no fatigue from using it. But even so, the hero hit the monster hundreds of times, and he did not have a single scratch. Suddenly, in the midst of the battle, when the dragon was preparing to make a deadly throw, Jaewon felt an energetic stream of light emanating from him. He was a familiar figure who had used it to defeat the boss of the 98th floor, and the hero rushed at the ice dragon with renewed vigor. With a precise and powerful blow, he struck him in the eye. This blow infuriated the monster and rushed to attack, flooding everything around with its icy breath, and saying that if the human race had not been deceived by the Stone of Nightmares, its fate might have changed completely. Then the hero would not be alone. Only 10 such warriors could defeat him. The Stone of Nightmares, those words wouldn't go out of my head. What did it mean? It took the hero 5 years to finally defeat the monster. After winning, he was given the title of Nightmare 499, and all the skills and abilities had reached their maximum, reached their limit. The hero also received the sword of the ice dragon, filled with his breath. Ahead is a new floor, a new door. 100. This is where everything will become clear, including the Stone of Nightmares. Let's go. The hero goes through the door, getting to the 100th floor. He enters the control room. The room was all filled with interactive screens. They showed what the current tower looked like. Joan saw the summoning arena, the village of Apostos. Everything that was happening in and around the tower. Suddenly a voice came from somewhere saying, "Ooh, you're here? Wait a minute, I have an important message to send." And after a moment, the message with congratulations popped up on the hero's interactive information panel. You were the first to pass the training game in the world 294. Your incredible achievement will henceforth be forever recorded in the immortal library of the Akashic Chronicles. This record will only be available to the monarchs of the Great Land. What are we talking about? The hero didn't understand. What does it mean to teach? The voice went on. Are you shocked? But you were holding up pretty well for a human being. Don't feel bad about it. No one has ever made it to this floor alone. Who are you? Asked our hero and saw a humanoid monster with a black lion's head. I am the devil Bistrain, the owner of the Tower of Nightmares that you cleared out. Joven tensed up, but kept asking questions. So if this was all a training exercise, you still have to go through the main game, don't you? You're a quick learner, but I have to show you something else, the monster replied. Immediately on the screens there were scenes of meeting his friends and all their way through the Tower of Fear. The hero saw moments of joy and moments of their death. The hero saw familiar faces that he would never see again. I give you a new opportunity, you can play this game again. From the beginning, the devil grinned slyly. An absolute being who starts all over again with all his memories. He continued to coax. The hero had millions of thoughts running through his mind. Isn't that the end? So you can't save the world by climbing to the top of the tower. That's how we were deceived from the beginning. No matter what methods were used, it was impossible to stop the effects of the tower. All we could do was try to capture the tower. Saving humanity was nothing more than our wish. But I will not choose the past, Jekwon said firmly. Bistrain responded by laughing out loud with the words. Are you still stuck on the past? No matter what item from the tower or what item from the Great Wall is used, you cannot be sent back in time. Such an item does not exist. The hero was perplexed. What are you talking about? There is definitely an item in the tower called a regression stone. And after saying that, Jawan was reminded of the last battle with the ice dragon that said, if only your race had not been deceived by the Stone of Nightmares, destiny might have changed completely. With a sly look, the devil replied, it was not the Stone of Regression, but the Stone of Nightmares. Those who used the stone were not sent back in time. They were simply trapped in a dream caused by the stone. The devil went on. The thought didn't even occur to me until the 77th floor that there was a race that was so fixated on going back in time. Only you people are like that. You don't go back in time, you just start the game all over again. And then a screen appeared in front of the hero informing him that the training had ended and inviting him to participate in the next game. Jawan replied without hesitation. You helped me understand the true nature of this tower. I've already been in the nightmare created by the tower, he replied to the devil. I will hunt you down and move on to the next floor. 8. I'm definitely going to finish you off. The devil became irritated and began to explain that there was no 100th floor, it was the end of the tower. Jawan did not believe a word of it and was ready to go all the way. The monster even offered any reward. But all was in vain, and then he spoke the following words. Don't you want to go back to your original world? Since you have realized that you are in the Tower of Nightmares. I'm sure you predicted it, but there was no effect of the tower. And then our hero finds himself among the people rushing about his business, walking around in a peaceful city as it were. It was as if nothing bad had happened. Everything was fine, as it was before the day the tower appeared. Suddenly pictures of peaceful life flash by and the hero finds himself in a huge hospital ward with many people on hospital beds. Some of his friends are lying unconscious. On one of them was Joan himself. It was incredible. He was very young here. Decades have passed, but in your world it's only been a month, Bistrain said, and he added, and what's more, you could never defeat me. Between us there is a chasm, as between people and dragons. After what he saw, our hero was relieved, and without a moment's hesitation, he attacked the devil. He defeated a huge number of monsters, dragons included, and the fight began. The hero went into the village to see the blacksmith, but he was nowhere to be found. He was shabby and tired. In spite of this, he immediately began to prepare his weapons for a new battle with the devil. It was 72 days that he challenged the enemy every day. No matter how our hero attacked, he could not leave a scratch on him. However, the hero also did not die. Jawan did not understand why the enemy was not going to kill them, but he firmly decided that no matter how many days it took, no matter how many years passed, he would not give up. At the same time, the devil was watching the hero and thinking, I have to hold back. This guy is a product I'm going to sell, and a very special product at that. As a cultivator, this is the first time I've seen anything like it. The cultivator ensures that the product safely adapts to the almighty earth, using a secondary process to allow the product to mature and be ready. The primary process is the refining of undesirable seeds so that only the good ones remain, which is done only by means of a learning game in search of good products. At the same time, the selected products can only really grow through a real game. The secondary process provides the selected seeds with water and fertilizer and grows them. But if there is a product that refuses to go to the next stage, the devil couldn't figure out how to convince the hero to move to the next stage. The monster needed to grow and sell flawlessly. He wanted to become a high-ranking devil and pay off the credits for this tower. Only this guy, a special product, to help with that. 10. All reflections ceased at once. Our hero arrived at the next battle. The devil went crazy, not understanding why the hero does not leave his attempts to fight him, and does not want to hear anything about starting a real game. Why is he so stubborn and does something so stupid? Refuses even the hidden skills and items. All offers the hero only responded that he will defeat the devil and go to the next floor. What should I do so that the hero had gone to the real game? The devil tried to explain that in fact the universe consists of more than one dimension. But Jovan already knew that parallel universes, multiverse, and the like exist on Earth. The monster tried to explain in more detail. There is one main level of dimensions, called the almighty Earth. Below that, there are countless dimensions that branch off from it. Earth is a small planet in a spatial system, scattered through countless changes. They call this planet World 294. While in the Tower of Nightmares, wanderers can earn skills and items by working on their status. They will adapt to the almighty Earth system, and they earn the chance to go to another world, and devils like him are assigned the role of supporting such a game. To the hero's questions as to why his planet was the place where the towers appeared and why he is doing this to our world, what does he get out of this work, the devil began to deceive and oblige. That your world was chosen by chance, and that among devils there are many who guard special wanderers on different planets. This is volunteering, Bestrain added. After his story, the monster thought that now they would believe him, but the hero did not believe a word of it. Jawan was sitting at the entrance to the 100th floor, in the snowy field where he had once slain the ice dragon, looking at his interactive menu with his skills, which were all at the maximum possible, and thinking, I'm only going to have any skills I can bring up, and yet I can't beat him. Is this the limit imposed on our characteristics? Suddenly he felt something strange inside him, and glowing clots swirled around him. Sometimes they looked like delicate particles, and other times like jagged pieces of sugar. They were constantly changing their shapes and structures. He instinctively realized that these were the shapes that made up the essence of this world. The hero went straight to the devil, but this time he began by asking questions. He was interested in who kings were. They were something like monarchs. The monster was glad of this interest and began to explain that monarchs are the rulers of the great earth. Those who pass the main game are part of the great land, often receive support from monarchs. Depending on which monarch you decide to follow, your future may be different. If you follow what I say, I will use all my power to help you pass under a great monarch. Of course, that's acceptable if you're willing to play the main game to the end, said Vestrain. I hear you, the boy replied. I'll do as you say. In exactly 10 days, I will leave this place. 9 days later. Jawan has been training hard all this time in the village, and all the while Devil Vestrain is watching him in his office on the 100th floor. He was immersed in his own thoughts. I bought that stupid tower because I was deceived by those bastards. They said it was built by a master himself. It was a first-generation vintage tower that you couldn't tell how old it was. If it had been a third-generation tower, there would have been a feature to force completion of the tutorial without damaging the prizes. But I can't complete the game without coordinating the prizes because of this cheesy first-generation tower. So he thought and dreamed that tomorrow it would all be over. The 10th day. Pern came as he said and began to study the tips before the game. The devil was waiting impatiently for the hero to accept the suggestion on the interactive menu. Suddenly our hero struck him with his sword and said, From now on I will hunt you. After I could see the particles, the stabbing motion of my sword became unstable. Every time I strike, I feel a strange feeling of discomfort. I feel as if I am awakened. And the battle began, during which Joan found himself shackled by the black iron tree on the 91st floor. But the hero wasn't discouraged. He knew that what Bistrain needed most was his consent to finish the game. Until then, he had a chance to win. What makes you think this learning game will go on forever? Tower of Nightmares is programmed to end automatically after 100 days of training. I just need to keep you. And then he heard, in the Great Land you are called Mr. Manipulator. You have lived for 784 years and traversed a total of 128 worlds, and continued your abominable cultivation on the target tribes. And you plan to hand me over to a dark monarch named the Mathematician. The monster was very surprised at the hero's knowledge. Who the hell is he? How does he know so much? I am the prize that you have nurtured here for many years. And after these words, the hero broke out of the trap of the sharp jerk and wounded his enemy with a piercing blow. Bistrain could not believe his eyes. It was impossible. Impossible? How could it be? Could it be an extreme adaptation? Roared the monster. After his first stay on the 100th floor, Jobin doubted again. This tower is part of the nightmare. And again, maybe it really cannot kill me. And the hero doubted even more. Can't people raise their characteristics anymore? The essence of the world collapsed and began to whisper to me. And after endless doubts, when I no longer had anything to doubt, I comprehended the piercing, said the hero, and struck a crushing blow again. The monster grew furious and could no longer hold himself back. He didn't believe that his devil of a Bistrain could be defeated by this guy. Even though he acknowledged that he had incredible talent. The boy was already at the second level of adaptation, though he'd only just finished the tutorial. You can't defeat me, the devil roared and attacked furiously. You'll still have to play the main game. You've run out of options. A moment later, he saw the hero lunging at him. But this was something completely new. Finally, our hero's superpower came to his aid. It had helped him before to bring victory over his most dangerous enemies at the most difficult moment. And so it was now. After this blow, the devil lost all his power and turned into an ugly little creature. The enemy was defeated. Standing over the creature, the hero said, I refuse to follow the script created by the likes of you anymore. I'm going to destroy this place and move to the next floor. I'm going to go higher and higher and see the end of this cursed world you've created. And after these words, he began to smash everything around. All the screens were turned into tiny shards, to the squeak of the forward devil Bistrain that there was no such thing as the next floor. But the hero didn't stop smashing everything around, and then he said, No, there is a next floor. The scribbles that were scattered all over the floors. And so in the end, the Tower of Nightmares is nothing more than an imitation of the original nightmare, which is at the top of the Tree of Illusions. It was definitely the doodles of Moloch, the creator of the Tower of Nightmares. This place is the root of the Tree of Illusions. If there is a root, there must be stems. If I break through this roof, with a powerful flow from the hero's sword, the energy of the ice dragon's breath rushed upwards and the tower began to finally collapse. The learning game was completely over.